Oh, hey, look, it's another beautiful Wednesday. Welcome to Drone Brews. Finally back to a regular schedule, sort of regular, I guess. Got a cool guest tonight. We got Quay. We're going to be talking about some Sony cameras for a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit about drones. We've got, let's see, is producer Paul here? He is here. We've got producer Paul. Paul, did you fix your white balance? Doesn't look like it. Paul hasn't fixed his white balance.
Oh, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's what you've been looking like, Paul. That's what.
Hey, I look a little better today. Ironically,
what'd you do today for your white balance?
It's the MacBook Pro Special.
Okay, so Paul, your camera has been on a Mr. Toad's wild ride. It's stuck in Newark. I did see a tweet from Eddie. He was able to pick up a A7C really cheap in Jersey today. He said it just sort of fell off the back of a truck.
I don't know.
You may want to have a conversation
according
with
to FedEx, it's sitting in Memphis right now. It's been there since Saturday.
No.
But
okay. Well,
I harassed B&H so much.
Somewhere.
I guess they sent out an email to everybody saying, please hold off until it'll be delivered anytime between today and Monday. So
okay.
That's a pretty big window.
I did see they were threatening you with a restraining order. So
they said I can't buy any cameras ever again. I'm really going to miss that EDU discount, man.
What are you drinking tonight, Paul?
S1S3 yet, and I can get it for like $31.48 plus get the Sony EDU rebate on top of that. So I don't know, man, but
just buy it like us normal folk. We buy cameras like normal. Paul, what are you drinking tonight?
Oh man, I've got some beer.
Do you really?
My wife bought me some.
Oh wow!
She went to the country store and bought me some.
Paul, that's not beer. Paul, that's from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
No, it's not. It's from
Paul, that's beer from Hogwarts.
It's from Cracker Barrel. She said it was the country, the country beer.
We got to get this situated, Paul. Seriously. So tonight I am drinking some local brew. I have J-Dubs Brewing. This is out of Sarasota, Florida. This is a milk chocolate porter. It's probably one of my favorite beers of all time. It's sort of like a milkshake. And then right now I'm starting off with another chocolate beer. Got a chocolate everything tonight. Chocolate peanut butter porter. And this one, I don't know where this one's brewed at. Not really sure. This is Plainfield, Indiana. Sort of appropriate. So, all right, Paul. So we've got a cool guest tonight, Quay. He's sort of affiliated with Sony. Explain that to me, Paul.
Well, everybody can make fun of me, but he's the whole reason why I get to talk about Camera Camp so much, and I
So this is the source of Camera Camp.
This is one time at Camera Camp all over again right here.
Okay. Well, before we bring him in, let's go ahead and take a look at the chat. We'll go ahead and greet everybody who's here because I see the chat is just popping off. If you guys aren't in Discord, Discord is open as well. We have links for the official Discord channel as well. We've got Leonard Oglesby, Jake's Drone Life, Brad Henderson, Scylla Surga. Who else we got here? We got Eddie. We've got Matt Cundiff, Black Ops Drones. We got Captured Life Connection. Who else do we have here? Did we miss somebody else? We've got Jared Spink, always here. Very, very awesome. Patrick Sutton. Jorge Perez. B-Man FPV. Sorry I missed you, B-Man, while I was up in New York. It was a super fast trip. Really fast. And it was just a lot of weird things kept happening while we were there. So you got to see SE Aerials. We've got Ray Kelly. Scrolling down, Fly High Wisconsin, who's also in Discord right now. Michael Blade. Let's see who else we got here. I think we covered it for the most part. If I missed you, I'm sorry. If we'll get back to you.
You should join Discord so we know who you are. Come on.
Exactly. So join Discord so you can join the conversation. I'll make sure Paul has a link in the description or a link somewhere in the chat at some point tonight so you can join that Discord. Awesome stuff. We have all different types of channels in the Discord, from DJI drones, Alto drones, FPV, camera gear, lighting, audio. So if you have questions or you want to interact in real time, that is the easiest and fastest way to do it, is on Discord. So highly recommend joining the Discord channel. It's always popping off and there's something always going on. Alrighty. I do have to get some stickers out to some people still. I was in New York, so I'll be mailing those out later this week. Eddie already got his stickers, because I actually saw him in New York this past weekend. I made time to visit him Sunday. So that was actually pretty cool to spend a little bit of time with him. It was freezing. It was really, really cold. Paul, with that being said, and as I'm out of focus because I'm using Fuji. Come on, Fuji. Come on. I was
about to say, are you using your Panasonic today?
Come on, today, Fuji. Yeah. Mother F.
Even my MacBook Pro.
Well, just play Quay's intro. It's because we have a Sony guy on. The Fuji just knows it's having I don't know.
You should never left Sony, bro. Should never left Sony.
Shut up. Play the intro. Holy shit.
Oh, there it is.
Holy shit. That was awesome.
That was some epic B-roll that you shot there on that 8.1C.
That was damn good. Also, did you made the leaf in the coffee, right?
Yeah, of course. It's tulip.
Yeah, I have no patience or skill for that. I always admire every time I see coffee art like that. That's skill. That's skill. Beyond just the B-roll, the coffee tulip is amazing.
It's not. It wasn't too hard, man. It's if you're good with your hands. I mean, you know how to hold a camera, shoot with a camera. You should be okay with it. Good deal.
Quay, thanks for coming on the show tonight. I know you are out of Orlando, so we got another Orlando guy.
Yes.
You are a Sony. Are you a Sony Ambassador? Is that what we would call you? Okay.
So I'm a Sony Ambassador. I'm part of the Sony Alpha Collective. So there's two ambassadors. There's one Sony Artisan, and then there's Sony Alpha Collective. So there's two types.
Okay. Nice. So what do you do with Sony specifically? How did you end up, on their radar for that?
I just kept messaging them and harassing the shit out of them, scamming them. Yeah, no. To be
honest,
all got
in the camper camp, right?
Yeah. Just to be honest, completely honest, just by pure luck, man. I was just at the right time, and my photos were taken off at that time, and I had switched from Canon to Sony, and I really loved all their stuff. And people were like, "Oh, what kind of camera were you using?" This is like back in the good old days of IG, when IG was still about photography.
Right.
So people were like, "Oh, what kind of camera do you use?" and this and that. So I was, I really switched over because I really genuinely liked their product, and I used to talk about it all the time, and I used to put my settings underneath my photos because that's the number one question is what are your settings?
What are your settings? That's always the question.
Right.
So I used to get sick of that question. I would literally just put it down below. And at that time, I had a job that I was traveling with, and I just everywhere I was traveling, San Francisco, Colorado, New York, I was taking pictures and then reposting them online on Instagram and using hashtags. I had no idea how hashtags really even worked. So a friend of mine was like, "Yo, you should be using these hashtags because there are these types of feature pages that feature your work." So I started using it, and then slowly started growing. And then I caught the attention of Sony, and the rest is history from there.
So you would say you're more of an Instagram influencer than if
I hate that word influencer, man.
I know, but it's like I guess it's either that or creator. I dislike both terms, to be honest. I never consider myself creator, and I never consider myself influencer either. But that's they lump us into buckets, right? Like you're like where is your genre fall into? So like for me, I would say YouTube primarily. I've tried Instagram and I've tried Twitter with little success, but YouTube's obviously where a lot of other people are obviously at. But Instagram once upon a time, I feel like Instagram was the place. Like that was the, for me, sort of like the OG of where most creators started. Using that word again is where most of them start, especially when it came to photography or video. Not really video, but mostly for photography, like you said.
See, it's the only reason why I don't really like to be called influencer, even though I am one by the term.
By the term.
Because I was already shooting, and I already knew about photography, and I was already shooting prior to that platform,
Right.
So it wasn't like I got onto Instagram, got crazy inspired, and be like, oh my God, I want to go and do these things because this person, that person was doing it. I did it because I had
passion for it.
Right. I really liked it. And when I was working my 9 to 5, I truly used it as more of a stress reliever. I would just go out of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere, just shoot. I was really into Astro for a long time.
Okay.
I would shoot at nighttime, and I would just go out there and just do it for myself, but more so because I did it because to relieve stress and because I really liked it and enjoyed it.
So what do you do now? Like, what's your main gig now? I see you're at a coffee shop. So give me the backstory on the coffee shop right now.
This is a very common question. So it's hard to say, right? Because I still think I'm a full-time creator or photographer, which I still have some clientele, and I still have a couple clients on retainer. However, my full time is probably running this coffee shop now. So about 2 years ago, I had this idea to join the entire photography world, which was one of my passions, and the coffee world, and just kind of bring those two together. More so I could have a place for community, have a place for network. And I felt like there wasn't that community aspect of it, and we needed a place where we could meet for events, and we have people that are very, have similar mindsets.
Right.
So I wanted to bring those two worlds together. So behind me is a 400 square feet pro grade studio with a full cyc wall, and then on the front of me is about another 600-700 square feet of just bar space with a $20,000 espresso machine. So that's like,
Lord.
Yeah, if you want the good stuff, it's going to cost you a little.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll definitely have to check that out.
It's Quay Coffee in Orlando, spelled with a Q, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Paul, as soon as you're allowed out, Paul, we have to go there.
Yeah. I've been there once before. I met up with another local creator, very small guy, and it's a really cool, very intimate place. I've never shot in there, but are you going to be doing any Sony events in there in the future?
So I do plan on, nobody knows this yet, but I'm going to try to do, I used to have a ton of events, a ton of networking events, but mostly free creator events. And I started what's called like Sony Alpha Weekends, where I gave people that wanted to come and test out all the gear a free opportunity to.
Oh, nice.
So Sony sent me these workshop kits that have like 5 or 6 cameras and almost every single lens, and then people would come in and rent those lenses for free and shoot around our space and outside and test those lenses out. So whenever I get my damn A1, hopefully we can have another one of those events. It's kind of difficult though because of COVID, of course. So we have to be fairly safe about it. But
So Sony just released the Sony FX3. Just what was it? I think it was Monday that released, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Was it Tuesday? See, I'm so out of it with cameras. So they released a smaller, I guess we'll call it cinema camera.
Yep.
A lot of people are sort of, I don't want to use the term butthurt, but a lot of A7S III owners are sort of perturbed at the fact Sony would release this camera. It's slightly more expensive, but there is some benefits to it. It's got a fan built in. It's more, I guess we could say, cinema grade. What's your take on that camera? What do you think of that?
So it's hard to say, right? Because Sony likes to maximize their technology, and they have a ton of it. They
Sure.
pretty much make sensors for everything in everybody. From from a cinema standpoint, it makes sense. So if you're shooting dedicated video and that's all you're shooting, it's smaller than the FS6. It's more portable. You can mount it on the Air Peak, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of positives with that camera.
So the small body just makes it perfect to mount on a drone, to be honest with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the Air Peak? Have you got anything that you're allowed to share?
I think that's pretty much tight-lipped at this point. You know, they debuted it at CES, and I think until it's ready to make its way to the masses, they're probably going to be pretty quiet about it.
If you look on the actual Sony page, on the Sony Global page for Air Peak, there's actually not much information on it. They're actually asking for creators, for pitches to see if for feedback per se, on the actual product to see, what they should do. I think it's just more of a generic announcement, but
sure.
There's information on people that want to work with them. It is on their page.
Yeah.
Hit that up, Dobo.
Yeah, I sort of gathered that much with that, because when you saw, there wasn't really any pricing, there wasn't really any hard detailed specs, when they did the whole presentation at CES. I mean, it looks amazing. Don't get me wrong. The drone looks amazing, and the fact that you're going to be able to integrate Sony cameras directly to it easily is even more amazing for people that do shoot Sony. With the FX3, I mean, it's sort of tempting. I guess I left Sony at the wrong time, because shortly after, it was just like release after release after release. I mean, if you compared what Sony's done this past year to a wrestling match, it's like the ref going, "All right, stop hitting the guy," and they just keep hitting.
Dude, I don't think Sony is even done with releases yet, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
Exactly. So
they have five projected cameras, and they've only released 2 of them. So they still have at least 3 more in their hands, ready to go. And they got that 50mm 51.2 coming out next month. I'm curious.
Crazy.
If they're going to do another camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple cameras that they haven't updated yet, so it could be.
So in 4.
But you know what's weird is, of all the years to start releasing, and a lot of companies are doing this. We're in the middle of a pandemic, right? A lot of people have lost their jobs. Some people are working from home now. But for years and years, we had the A6100 or the A6000, the A6300, and we were sort of waiting. The A66 or A6500 and 6300 just sat there for a long time, right?
Yeah.
There was 2-3 years that was not updated. And then you had the A7 III that's been out, we'll say, for 2 years, maybe longer now. And those weren't updated. And then all of a sudden, just this year, you're just going to, the middle of the pandemic, you're just going to start pummeling releases. It's
but it's
sort of an odd move, I guess.
But if you think about it, this stuff takes time to build and build up.
This is true.
So it wasn't like overnight they're like, oh, we're just gonna go ahead and release these cameras. All the stuff was probably in development roughly 2 years ago or a year ago. So, you know, I don't know. I guess when Canon released that R5 and the R6, you know, Sony has to be on top. So they just said, well, screw it, we're just gonna start releasing.
What do you make of them adding the Cinetone to the camera after, you know, Gerald Undone criticized them for not including that? You think that's a good move, or does that set, you know, sort of the expectation that, you know, they could be bullied? Because I've never seen a camera manufacturer add a feature, or especially when it comes to color, because Sony's always been notorious that you get what you get when it came to color, and they're not going to add an additional profile. And then he criticized them for that, and they quite literally in the most recent firmware update, they go ahead and add that. I was sort of shocking, actually, that they did that.
Well, I will tell you that I've sat in a lot of, I guess you could say, Sony feedback meetings, where they solicit feedback, and I've sat in at least 2 or 3 of those, and I promise you that's not the first time they've heard it. You know, along with the flip screen, along with a million other things.
Sure.
You know? So it's
at Camera Camp, I feel like everything that a lot of the creators were asking for at Camera Camp has pretty much come through with the A7S3 and this FX3 now. I mean, they're really listening to the creators, especially with the flip screen, the active stabilization, so stuff like that. A lot of people have been asking for those things. It's pretty impressive.
I think it's actually pretty cool. I mean, it's great that they're doing it. I guess in a way, it's sort of a barometer, because it's pushing other companies to do better and not sort of sandbag a little bit. Because Canon is a prime example. They're notorious sandbaggers. They'll hold features and benefits back and sort of cripple their cameras to an extent, you know, because they're afraid it's going to cannibalize another line that they have, which is not, I don't think it's really the case. I think every camera has its own shooter, right? Like there's a camera for everybody. And the minute manufacturers start realizing that, the better off it's going to be. I think prime example is like Fuji. Fuji's cameras, it's sort of interesting because all their cameras are capable of doing what their flagship cameras do to a certain extent, with just minuscule things different across the board, but they don't like really hold back their cameras. They all let it do what the next camera does, and then you sort of choose, well, what best fits your workflow, what best fits your size, which I think that's cool. Obviously, Sony has a lot to choose from now, which I think is really awesome. Again, I don't regret not shooting Sony, but I sort of wish I was a little bit more patient sometimes, because the A7S3 it's tempting. It's tempting, but I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
What do you shoot with?
Right now, I'm shooting on the S5s, Panasonic S5s. Right now, this is a Fuji X-T3, but I shoot primarily the Panasonic S5s. I've been pretty happy with it. I don't use autofocus though. Like I do with the stream, but I usually don't use autofocus because I'm always behind the camera most of the time. So for me, autofocus has never been an issue.
So what's the reason for, again, X-T3? Just for photo?
For photo, so real estate photography. I love Fuji's dials for real estate photography. So when I'm sitting on the tripod, I can just, I use bracketed shots. So I'm constantly adjusting my shutter, or I'm constantly adjusting my ISO. And those dials enable me to quickly, like, I don't have to fumble through a menu. I can just boop, boop, adjust it. And I don't have to disrupt the camera too very much. So if I need a darker shot, I can just quickly adjust it without disrupting the camera. So when I take it back in post and I'm aligning those photos in Photoshop, they don't shift too much, because it's really bad with carpet floors, like when you're doing brackets. So that's the main reason why I ended up switching the Fuji. Dials.
Just for the dials?
Dials, man. They're a dream, dude. If more cameras had dials, if Sony had dials, I'd probably stay on Sony, because Sony's low light on Sony was amazing. I could shoot ISO 50,000 in a house, and I never really had to worry about like crazy. No, I can shoot handheld brackets, and I would be like 50,000 ISO, shutter like cranked up, so it was like stable, and it was great. But just having the dials have sped up my workflow. For me personally, sped up my workflow.
You know what would speed up your workflow? I'm not sure if you ever tried this, but I'll give you a file So I don't bracket real estate pictures anymore. I'll take like an underexposed picture, and I'll just use a brush on that on the image, and I'll turn on the highlights and I'll bring up the shadows or the exposure with a brush, and I just use a single image. I don't bracket anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It takes too long.
It does. I mean, most of the houses I'm shooting are about 2,500 square feet. I do brackets, and then I'll also, if I'm not being lazy, I will do a flambient shot where I'll take one flash exposure and then one just ambient shot, and then I'll just layer them on top. I'm always layering it because agents here, they love that. They love that like very crisp window, and they just like that very like the whitest white. Like if a white is not white, they're complaining that it's like the white balance isn't like, I mean, like white, like crystal white. It's like, yeah.
Where do you live?
Say it again.
Where do you live?
I live over in Springhill. I'm on Tampa's coast.
Oh yeah, one of my roasters is over there.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like 30 minutes. I say it's Tampa because it's just easier for people to identify where I'm at. But 30 minutes away from Tampa. I'm only like an hour or so from Orlando. You know, as the crow flies. Doesn't take long, anyways.
Depends on how fast you drive. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have clients. I've done a lot of houses out there in Orlando, like Kissimmee. Orlando, where the heck is it? I think it's Apopka, a little bit north. I've done some houses. I've got an investor. She's out there and always out there doing photos and video for her. So
nice.
But yeah, I'll definitely have to come out and check out the shop, man. Once, like I said, once COVID settles down and everything sort of, or enough people are vaccinated, then we'll go from there.
Sounds good, man. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
So, do you use drones in your photography, Quay, or how often do you use drones?
Most recently, not as much as I would like to, just because everywhere I go to, there's just so many drone laws now. So not as much. I used to back in the day when I had the goes in my mind right now, but the Mavic 1.
Mavic Pro, yeah.
Mavic Pro, and then also have the Mavic Pro 2 now. But it sits in my Pelican.
Man.
Restrictions are way different now than it was.
Yeah.
3-4 years ago.
Orlando, it's hard too, because if you're over there in your area where your coffee shop is, you're really close to that executive airport, right?
Yeah. You're basically not flying over there at all.
No, I actually have a ton of footage when I was in Utah. I flew my drone in the Salt Flats. I have a ton of footage from the Dominican Republic, more so for capturing some of my adventure stuff. And I have 2 realtors that I continue to do work for that I'll shoot that. But I want to get the Mavic Air 2 just because it's
a good buy, man. I think the Mavic Air 2 is a good buy. Like if you're a casual shooter, it's nice to just have a drone in your arsenal, Right. Like you can take it and get a shot if you need to. The other nice thing about DJI is that it's always matched up really well color science wise to Sony, I noticed. Like you sort of keep consistent colors to a certain extent.
Because they use the Sony sensors probably.
Yeah, but it's just the way their color, like their color science is. It really does, like it does match very well with Sony for some reason. It's always has, even their D-Log. But the Mavic Air 2 is just probably like one of my favorite drones. I took it with me to New York, even though I only got a chance to fly for like 10 minutes. But I mean, I took it up there, but it's just so easy to travel with. That's the best part about it.
Yeah,
easy.
It's also under a certain weight, so you can pretty much fly it wherever.
For the most part, you can fly it. I mean, it's still heavy to where it's not going to skirt restrictions. If you really want to skirt restrictions, the Mavic, the Mini, would give you that. Like you don't need authorization if you're just doing it casually, right? Like you're not doing it as somebody who's looking to further their business. Then it's good. The minute you start doing it like where you're going to use it professionally, that's when they're like, well, wait a second, you need that 107. So, but I mean, yeah, it's still plenty good though. I think, anyways.
I'm halfway through my Part 107 right now.
Are you? I would wait until I think it's March 15th. The rules are changing, so they're going to have the new tests to where we can take them. So March 15th. I heard that they're going to be online. I got to research that a little bit more, but Looks like they're going to be moving to online. You're gonna you'll take a test with a certified teacher, instructor, or something to that effect. I don't know. I didn't really read it. Yeah, online.
Yeah,
it seems like everything
probably will be March. I'm like halfway through, so and I've been doing it now for about 2 weeks. So I'm gonna have probably another 2 weeks of studying, and then a refresh, and then take a little practice test.
Think about how many people don't want to go out because of COVID, right? Like a lot of people don't want to go out. They don't want to go places. They don't want to take tests in place. Like even the DMV has changed the way they interact with people. I noticed, which I mean it's good because the DMV was never like the cleanest place, so that's awesome. But for the most part, things start moving to an online perspective. I don't think you could change driving classes, but still, it's for the better though. But
what if we could do it in simulation? That'd be cool.
Oh, that would be cool if they could do simulation, man. That would be free. That would be freaking awesome, man. I mean, that's what they do with pilots, though. Before they get them actually strapped behind a seat, they put them in an actual real simulator, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, I actually had I pitched to a government agency, and that's what they did. They did full aviation. They have a ton of simulators in their office, and it was pretty wild. That is pretty awesome, though. You said you worked with 9 to 5. Yeah, so I used to work in corporate, heavy in corporate. I did sales. I did for a long time, and then I became a project manager over at Full Sail for a little bit. Okay. For 4 years, and then I switched over, and I became a marketing and operations director at a healthcare company. Gotcha. And then that's where I started traveling a little bit. Was with them through a couple conferences and stuff like that. But yeah, strong traveling. Yeah, me too. I missed all the little fringe benefits of traveling. I stay with Hilton, so I like my Hilton points, and I miss all the little nuances that go along with traveling to new places, especially when you are a photographer. It's just nice to see new canvases to work with and new things to shoot. And as of late, it's okay, I'm over the same old. I'm ready for something different. I want to go back to camera camp. I want to travel again. Paul, stop. Just stop, Paul. Well, Quay, man, I appreciate you coming on, man. I won't take up too much of your time, but you're always welcome back, man. And when I ever get a chance, I'm going to come out to Orlando for sure. For sure. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. You got it, man. Take it easy, brother. Oh, you got the thing that you got to do? What thing? You didn't do it right, Paul. There it is, Paul. Oh, there's Paul. They don't have any transitions, guess, man. Dude. It's rough. Dude, that was good, man. That's cool to see, the whole opposite side of, how some of these events, and, there's all sorts of ambassadors, when you talk about brands, which I think is pretty damn cool, actually. Yeah, I first met him. He's an ambassador, and it looks like I think Sony does uses a lot of their ambassadors for a lot of their events. So he does a lot of the traveling Sony B Alpha events. So first time I met him was the one in Orlando, and then obviously we got them team up again when he was at Camera Camp. So they had a lot of just the same people that I saw from the Alpha event in Orlando over there doing the Camera Camp too. They just it seems like they use a lot of their ambassadors for those type of roles, So nice. It's cool. Well, I know a lot of people want to talk about they want to hear more about this DJI FPV drone, which the drone's not even heated topic, man. I know, and the drone is not even released yet it's the most leaked. It's the most leaked product of DJI's existence. It's the most leaked product they've ever had at this point. We know more about this product and it's not even out. It's almost comical, but we'll touch on it because I am very opinionated when it comes to this product specifically. And I guess I'm opinionated on it primarily because I don't really like it. I don't really like it. So, but let's go ahead and we'll take a look. We'll take a glance at this here, Paul. So this is from Drone DJ. Drone DJ has everything about DJI's new FPV drone, specs, pictures, controller, spoiler. I've already known everything about this drone for a little bit since we've. Well, they're pretty much they're pretty much Sony. They're pretty much Sony Alpha, aren't they? I mean, they're like the basically at this point. So we got a whole kit. Get the goggles, the RC, which looks like the TBS Tango 2. You got this ugly ass drone here. Ugly ass, if you ask me. It's pretty ugly.
You do get this controller here. This is sort of like a wand. You're going to be able to put this thing into sort of like a follow me mode. So again, there's going to be multiple modes that you're going to be able to use this with. You're going to be able to use this in your hand to
follow
sort of,
you mode. Is it like a
yeah,
Skydio
sort of like
kind
a
of like
follow
a
me mode.
beacon?
Yeah. So you're going to be able to use this as a follow me mode. Listen, the reality is, like, at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about this drone. I don't, because after flying it, I was immediately turned off. Now, I know a lot of people are really like excited about this, and I don't want to be sucking the hot air or whatever, the wind out of their sails. But if you want an FPV drone, learn to fucking fly and don't be lazy. Like, don't be lazy. Just learn to fucking fly. Like, learn to build one, because you're going to spend $1,200 on this. You're going to spend $1,200 on this. And the first time you flip that shit into manual and you have an oh fuck moment and you forget to put this into its failsafe mode, you just spent $1,200, because I will tell you that in any other mode, minus the manual mode, DJI is not using, like, care refresh is null and void in the manual mode. So manual is their acro mode. If you put this shit into the manual mode, they're not going to honor care refresh. Now, will they change that? Maybe, but I think they're probably going to see, you know, how this goes. I think they're going to see how many of these things get destroyed. No doubt, these are going to break. Like, they're going to break because people are going to be like, oh, I could do FPV. And they're going to go for it. And they're going to send it. And they're going to break stuff. And then they're going to be crying about it later, because that's what happens. People break stuff and then they want to bitch about it later. I mean, personally, I, like I said, and I don't care, because I know, like, and I guess I'll be the asshole. I'll be the asshole because, like, I already know the channels that have it. Like, I know the vast majority of the channels that have it. And, you know, I know that they're probably lurking in the chat, trying to see, like, what's he going to say? Is he going to say something about me? Is Dobo going to say something bad about me? You're fucking damn right I'm going to, because I don't like half of you. I don't like half of you. And I don't like half of you because you instill the wrong values into the hobby, because you don't do this they don't do this because they care. They do this because they think this is a job, or they think that they're going to make profit on it. Well, fuck you. Can't wait till you wreck your shit. Me, I'll just go to my shelf and pull another one off, destroy it, pull another one off, destroy it, and rinse, repeat, because I can do that.
Yeah, that looks like a Tango 2 ripoff controller right there.
It is. It's a Tango 2. It's a Tango 2 ripoff. Quite literally, DJI ripped off TBS with this design. Now, does it feel identical to a Tango 2? Sort of. It's close. I will tell you that the sticks are a little hard to adjust. You can take the spring tension out of the throttle, so you can make it to where it drops all the way to the bottom. You can take it to where it drops all the way to the bottom. However, it does take some, like, finesse to get it. And even when you get it there, it's sort of a little sloppy. But you can get it pretty close. If you don't have any intention on flying this in manual, then you don't have any need to adjust the tension. Now, if you're going to fly this in acro or manual mode, then you're going to want to make sure that you can drop the throttle all the way down to 0 throttle. Because if you don't, you're going to break shit. So we'll put it that way. You're going to break shit, and you're not going to have the most amount of dexterity in the controls. So that's it. A couple of other things to note is that when you start and stop this thing, you double tap, which I think is weird. Like with the Tango 2, I tap it and I can start my motors, and I can stop my motors with a single tap. That double tap really threw me off. So when I was flying, I was like, oh shit, what am I doing? Tap, tap? No, I just tap it and that doesn't do shit. So that threw me off. But let's see. Lee F asked, what about NFC? You betcha, there is NFCs. So if you don't want to contend with any sort of flight restrictions, then this is definitely not for you. Definitely not. Yeah. Is there anyone concerned we're going to see incidents with this FPV drone? Holy shit, yes. Holy shit, yes. I am afraid that here's my problem. Here's my biggest fear with this drone is the fact that, and again, people will be like, oh, you're being so negative about this drone. It's not me being negative. It's me being a realist. I'm being a realist about this drone. I will tell you that the first time I flew FPV, it was a bit scary. It was scary because your field of view is only what your drone can see, right? So if you are flying this and you do not have a spotter, you're not going to be able to see any sort of oncoming aircrafts. Now, yes, there are sort of alerts and things that can pop up in the screen for you, but it's if you are paying attention to those as they pop up. So, as somebody who's never flown FPV, like GPS pilots that are going to buy this thinking this is my gateway drug into FPV, I can see that there's going to be some problems. People are going to try to emulate the things that they see online. They're going to try to emulate the Mr. Steels. They're going to try to emulate the Ladribs, thinking, "Oh, I can do it with this." And that's where we start seeing the problems. That's where these things start breaking. Like, listen, I'll be completely honest. I'm going to be blunt as fuck. If you want to fly FPV, do it the right way. Get yourself a cheap Cinewhoop, a very minimal investment. Understand like what you're getting into. Fly something stupid cheap or build a DJI FPV drone. Buy the goggles, build one, because that's going to cost you like $300 to build one. Or you can even buy a bind-in fly for like $250, $300. Buy a bind-in fly, set of goggles. You're in it for $700 now. And see if you like it first. And if you like it, sure, go ahead, buy it, have at it. Or if you don't care and money's no object, just buy it, I guess. I don't know what to tell you, but that's my thing. I take things a little bit more passionately when it comes to this stuff because I had no idea. When I first started flying, I had no idea that this was ever going to be a thing, right? I didn't know. I just was curious about FPV. I was really quiet about it. I didn't say anything online. I just started learning everything I could and started building. And I started, like I said, flying on analog. And I started building, breaking. Again, the whole time, didn't say shit to nobody. I was just trying to understand and gain as much knowledge. And then you get to that point where you're like, all right, this is way more fun. Now it's to the point where I didn't even want to talk about or fly my Mavics. Like my Mavics get very, very little use. I was flying the Mavic this past weekend and I was just sort of like, it doesn't have the same kick to it. It doesn't have the same luster, which sucks. But
yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I still enjoy it, but I know that if I picked up an FPV, I would totally suck. But I get what you're saying. I think this drone is mainly going to be for those people who just want that FPV cinematic, like wavy look. They don't want to do all the tricks and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
they want the banking turns. They want that sort of that Johnny FPV Sam Colder vibe to it. My other biggest gripe with this quad was the camera. So the camera is a fixed camera here. So which means what you get is what you get, right? There is no way you're going to mount a GoPro or anything on here. There's no way you're going to mount a GoPro or anything on this quad. It's just not gonna happen, right?
Which is interesting because doesn't the GoPro kind of help you get that FPV like look because you can get the crazy shots and then
well, it's not even that. It's not even that. Like if I crash with the GoPro, and I break my GoPro, I just put another GoPro on there. Or, if I want to fly with Real Steady, I can throw Real Steady on and then I'm off to the races and I'm flying, no problem. Or if I don't want to fly with any stabilization and I want to see how smooth I could fly, I turn stabilization off and there's that. And there you go. I mean, I would say the camera is probably the equivalent of the Mavic 2 Zoom, slightly worse, because what they're doing is adding in stabilization. So what that does, it creates some blocky artifacts in lower light situations. So as soon as it gets dark, this is obviously going to be no good for use. Like you're not going to want it. You're not going to want to do anything with this camera. So it's a daylight only drone, which sort of sucks because I often find myself flying parking lots at night. Like, because a parking lot is fun. When you're flying FPV, you can take a boring ass parking lot and make it super fun. So, I mean,
yeah, but once again, I think you're just thinking about this too deeply as an FPV world. I think this drone is totally just FPV look with a GPS flight.
Yeah, it is, but it isn't. It's for me, I look at it as it's a sort of a danger to the hobby in a sense. So I sort of look at as an endangerment to the hobby in a sense. Only because of the fact that, you know, people are going to be irresponsible with it. And you can't control, obviously we can't control everything that people do, and you can't maintain that, but I don't know. That's just my take on it. That's my take on it. We'll have to see. It's set to be due out on March 2nd. I really don't want to talk more about it till March 2nd. Like I said, I should have a unit in my hand like the 4th or 5th of the week or so. As soon as our supplier gets them to me, I should have 3 of them on hand. So one of them is, we're gonna just see how strong it is. We're just gonna beat the living shit out of it. So if I'm wrong and it's super strong, great. If I'm not, then I have a pile of parts. So
you see Mike.
What do you say?
It's on the screen.
Oh, I see him. He wants me to curse him out. I don't know.
He's been waiting for you. He wants you to curse him out, and then he wants to call me in and let me calm him down.
See, like a lot of people, like they just put in like 1 foot into something, and they don't really do it right. Like when I do something, like I'll usually obsess about it. I'll obsess about it till it's like mentally it's all I think about.
Yes.
Mentally, it's that's all I consume. I let things consume me until I can perfect it. What I hate about creators today, especially on YouTube, is they want instant gratification. They want something that's going to provide them an instant result. They want like that instant. They want people to thank them. They want to be like every motherfucking cocksucking creator on here is the same way. Every one of them. Everybody just wants to have, you know, people like them. They want the fucking clout that goes with everything. And like me, I'm just like, I don't give a shit. I want to try to put the best possible version of what my skill set can do out first, with not worrying about what anybody thinks. And that also means being exactly who I am. Like I don't fake anything here. And like I'll sit here and watch all these other channels, specifically in the drone sphere, and you can just pick out fake motherfucker after fake motherfucker. You can just pick them out all day long. I got a list.
Oh boy.
I got a list. There, you know, some of these people have even been on my show before. And I just don't vibe with them anymore, because I see what they do. They push their products. They want people to just buy it. And I'm like, no, that's not it. Like, you know, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna push a product on somebody and get them to buy it just because it's going to benefit me. That's you want your people to buy the best of the best. Now, as far as in regards to the FPV stuff, I say, you know, try it, because guess what? There's going to be a hell of a great resale value on all this shit if you don't break it. If you don't break it, there's going to be an amazing resale value on it, right? There's going to be somebody that's going to buy it and probably buy it for a couple of $100 more than you paid for it. Look at Skydio, for instance. So Skydio, that drone is 45 days out right now for production, right? 45 days out. That's a $1,200 or $900. It's $999 is what they're selling it for, right? And this is year number 2. If you have a Skydio right now, you can sell that drone still today for probably $1,500 just for the drone itself. $1,500 just for the drone itself, because there's a wait list, which is incredible.
It's crazy.
It's insane. It's insane. But I won't sell my viewers anything for, I just won't. I'm not in it for, I've never been in it for the money aspect. And I look around and I see it happening more and more and more. And you'll see it. March 2nd, you'll see it. You'll really see it.
March 2nd, you'll see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Of course. It's marketing 101. It's marketing 101. And I think we'll know whether it's good or not, and we'll go from there. And then it'll be on to the next thing. As quick as that this leak came out, something else will leak. Something else will leak. There'll be a new flavor, and people will be pissy and irate of it all over again. So, fuck them. You know,
It's gonna be that Mavic 3. Oh,
I wish. I really wish. I need something like that in the worst way. Only because I really want 4K 60 with a 1-inch sensor, but in a DJI shell. Right? I would be totally happy if DJI said, "Hey, we'll give you that Mavic 3 and it's going to look exactly like the Mavic 2." I'd be okay with that.
of course.
Just maybe just give me a better camera. Give me a better camera, slightly better. I don't even care about the Hasselblad. I don't even think they're going to do Hasselblad anymore. We haven't seen anything else done with Hasselblad since they introduced that.
It's very interesting, isn't it? But I think they just use the name for that particular.
Oh yeah, at the time,
they're using their
the
technology and all their stuff because they bought them. But I think they just use the name because Hasselblad. Everybody thinks they know what it is, but they
back when that first came out, Hasselblad was like a bit like it still is a big thing. It still is a big thing, but they were making a lot of medium format cameras, and it was the acquisition from when DJI invested into the Hasselblad Corporation. And they were able to use the rights of their supposed color science. That was a big thing. That was a huge thing for drones in general. But then they never did anything else with it. So maybe they didn't see the return on the investment or whatever it cost them to license that. Who knows? Who knows? But we never saw it since. And nobody else has, made we'll say, I don't know. It would be interesting to see somebody else like produce a Canon color, like drone companies can say, well, Canon, we like your color science. Can we inject that into our sensor? And we'll say, well, this is Canon, something to that effect, or like a Cinetone style or something like that. That would be cool if they gave that option. I think the one that will come close to that, honestly, and people will be like, no way, no way, no way, would be X Dynamics. They'll come close because they're going to have the best bit rate of any consumer camera today. When it does release, they'll have the best bit rate of any consumer camera. They'll have the most amount of options in their camera, but it's whether or not somebody wants to shell out $3,000 to buy that.
For sure.
Lon, nobody gives a fuck about it. I honestly think that the DJI FPV will be a decent trainer. If you feel like fucking spending $1,200 to train when there is $500, $200, $300, $400 drones that could easily do the same thing and show you how to fly, or if you don't want to spend the fucking time to use a goddamn simulator, then don't fly FPV. This is not for the lazy.
Exactly.
This is not for people to be lazy and not understand. It's just not. If you want somebody to tell you that, yes, this is the most amazing thing, go to any other motherfucking channel right now. Get the fuck out of here. Go to any other channel right now, because I'm not going to tell you it's amazing. I'm not going to tell you that it's the bee's knees, because I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And I can tell you that because flying it just felt like a freaking Mavic with goggles. So if you want a Mavic with goggles, wait until the goggles work with your Mavic, save yourself $1,200 or blow it out your ass. I don't really give a fuck.
Big Water AV Solutions.
Any day.
Thank you so much.
The unsubscribe button is the same as the subscribe button. You just click it twice. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's stupid. It's honestly stupid. I can't, like, the more and more I fly, like I don't even want to touch it, you know? It's drives me, it just gives me a headache, Paul. It gives me a headache.
I can see that, man.
Headache. It's just because the mindset with people on things just boggles me.
Hey, while you're heated up here for the moment, don't you have didn't you have the first commenter in like 2 weeks this week? that you need to rip. It's like rip somebody a new one this week. Come on, man.
Ooh.
You're all fired up. Let's do it. He's in deep thought.
No, I'm just reading.
Oh boy. Well,
No, I'm just
a lot
reading.
of love in the comments here.
I think people forget they can just buy like a bind and fly. A DJI bind and fly today is $290 for a bind and fly. Literally $290. And you don't have to use a DJI radio. You can just use a FR Sky radio, or you can use, I mean, the easiest is to use the DJI radio, to be honest with you. It is. But you can use any radio. You don't have to use anything. So it is what it is. People see, here's the deal when it comes to GPS pilots and this drone specifically. This is mostly the biggest case of FOMO. The biggest case of FOMO. Now, the best case scenario is a lot of people get this and they get behind it and they have a close call and they're like, holy shit, I need to learn, right? I gotta like reel this back. This is a little bit like, this is different, right? This is different. And they understand, they learn, they respect it, and they do better, right? They figure it out. They'll slowly train themselves, or they'll hopefully practice in a simulator so they don't destroy their $1,200 drone. But then you're going to have those people that will not do any of those things, and they're going to go out there and just be stupid and reckless. And that is what I fear. As much as I hope to Christ that does not happen, but that's what I do fear. And I see
a good question here. Ken, can you suggest a FPV Sim for newbies? I think this question comes up quite frequently.
Honestly, Velocidrone's fine. Liftoff is fine. Those are all pretty realistic to a certain extent with the weight and like what you're going to feel flying. But you know, the thing is, every drone feels different. Every quad that you make or fly is going to be different. You can fly two different drones and they're going to interact and fly entirely different. So don't base it off of, okay, I'm flying this simulator, I'm doing amazing, and now I use Velocidrone and it doesn't work well. It's just try different combinations and feel what other people try and see if you can sort of navigate what works best for you. That's about the best you can really do in most instances, is to try to navigate what works best for you. I do that all the time. I'll fly one way and it flies amazing, and I'll try somebody else's rates or whatever, and I fly terrible, and then I'm going through like a relearning process. Or if you change an RC, oh man, changing an RC is like, you just screw yourself up entirely, because now you have to relearn and get comfortable all over again. So the biggest thing is, whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to start with, if you're going to start with this thing right here, just stick with the FPV drone. So that way you get consistently better at flying. Because if you're flip-flopping, you're just never going to get used to it. You're never going to get accustomed to it. It's just like people that fly Mavic and then all of a sudden buy an Evo. They're like, this thing doesn't fly well. Well, it's not like a Mavic. It has different flight characteristics. You got to get used to those flight characteristics all over again. That's unfortunately the nature of the beast when it comes to things that fly or things that are RC controlled. It is what it is.
Point. You if you're going to do FPV, you got to just go.
You just got to pick. You got to. I made that mistake
for at least a period, so you can get used to it.
I made that mistake when I first started flying. I've said this numerous times. Was what I was doing was I was building all these. I thought it was cool to build all these different drones, but they were all so different. They had different motors, different KVs. So every time I got behind
one every day, and you screw yourself over.
Exactly. So what happened was I would fly a different one every day, and I was always having to get accustomed to the way the flight characteristics were on that drone. So that's the reason why too, like I just fly my Mavic 2 Pro when I can. If I need to avoid, like if I'm in an area where I know the Pro is going to give me an issue, then I'll fly the Evo. Like as of right now, my Evo is just my backup, like my extreme backup. Like that's just the only thing I use it for, is like an extreme backup in case I have an issue with it. Other than that, I really seldom don't fly that drone, just because it just doesn't deliver the same result consistently. Like that's my thing, is consistently.
Well said.
Bro, if you want digital, the controller, goggles, unit, etc. is pushing around $1,000. Yes or no? Then a GoPro is about $300 to $400. $300 for a drone. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so Lon, basically you're just saying it's so buy that because it's $1,200. If you're solely looking at something based upon cost and not longevity or the grand picture, then you're looking at it wrong. You're saying to buy that because you're getting a $1,200 package.
I think if you're looking at FPV in general, you can't look at the dollar signs because you're gonna.
I've never looked at the dollar. I've never looked at the dollar sign because that's the wrong thing. The wonderful thing about it is you can piece it all together. You don't have to buy it all at one stop. Most people are going to have an action camera of some sort. I would gather. Maybe not. Maybe so. Maybe some people have like a GoPro or an Osmo Action or whatever. So that's already one piece of the puzzle. And then if you need to get a drone, you want to go digital, there's $300 easy. You can get it pre-built. And if you want to get an RC and the goggles, you don't have to buy the V2s, although it seems like DJI is pushing people to the V2 because the V1s are out of stock. So there's $540, and if you got to add the RC, there's another, it's $800. So you're at about $1,100. But the kicker is, if I break that, I don't like it, just get another one. Right? You just keep changing it, or you can build, modify, fix, which is
I
really
think that's one of the main things that keeps me out of FPV. I don't have the
discretionary
income.
The downtime fixing things suck. The allure of not having to tune something is sort of nice, not having to tune something, but I think there's going to be a purpose for something. You know, there's a purpose for everything. I don't ever look at the money aspect of things. I look at drones to me are tools. They're tools. They always have been tools. I use it for real estate or I use it for media creation. So if I'm buying something, I know that product will give me some sort of set investment back. Like I'm going to get return on my investment back. That's me. But for a sheer hobbyist, if you're just curious, I don't know. That's a $1,200 gamble for curiosity, if you ask me. $1,200 gamble. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your money. Do whatever you want with it. But I think that people have these grandeur ideas in their mind, and then it's just like when they get it, they'll be disappointed.
Plus, I mean, I don't think you're going to go out and buy an a GoPro for when you're starting to learn FPV. You're just going to use the basics. Learn how to fly before you strap a camera on that bad boy.
I was afraid that for the first couple of weeks, I was afraid to strap a camera on there because I knew that if I did, it was going to be destroyed. The first day I strapped the camera on it, guess what I did? I destroyed it. The first day, I was like, son of a gun. I like first day, strap a camera to it, smashed it into a tree, and that was it. Had to claim it to GoPro. And GoPro right now has the worst turnaround time of any manufacturer when it comes to repairing cameras. The worst turnaround time.
I just got
worst turnaround time.
SD card. It was a 2-week turnaround time. Wasn't too bad. I got a brand new one. I sent in a 95 megabytes SD card, and they sent me back 171. Boom.
All right, goodbye, Lon. You're now officially banned from my fucking channel, like indefinitely. There, that's it. I don't fuck around. I'm not playing games with him.
Whoa.
Lon is gone. Like you fucking piss me off. I'm just in that type of mood. Like I'll just boot your ass going forward. Like that's it. Like that's where I'm at. You want to fucking piss me off? I just boot you. I'll boot 40,000 fucking subscribers. I don't give a fuck. I'll torpedo the whole motherfucking channel. I really don't care. Because again, that's the benefit of having a really good day job, is that you can use this as a fucking fuck all. There's that. Yep.
Well.
Yeah. See?
All right.
My new mentality is if you aggravate me, you piss me off, just going to get rid of you. I'm just going to completely blank you out. So there it is. About 200 away. So Mark says you don't have 40,000 subs. Well, there's about 200 away. So if we're rounding up, yeah, doesn't matter how many the fuck it is, Mark. I'll blank you out too. Well, here you go. Here's another one. Go fuck yourself. Hit that unsubscribe button when you're leaving. Adios, motherfucker. Anybody else?
Come on, man. You just the more you do this, the less closer I am to drink a real beer.
Paul, I'm going to keep you from drinking, dude. I'll knock out fucking 200 people tonight. I don't give a shit, dude. I really don't give a shit. Like, people think like whether you subscribe, you unsubscribe, I don't care one way or the other. I don't care. Like, to me, this is nothing. This is nothing. Like I said, I don't look at this as like a day job. I don't look at this as like I have a goal of X number of viewers or subscribers to hit. I never had that mentality. Like, I've been playing the past couple of weeks. Like, I've had nothing to lose. So it's how I feel. That's how I feel. Like, when you have nothing to lose, that's when you're at your most dangerous moments. So that's sort of how I feel.
Metro drones.
Thanks, Metro. You don't have to super chat anything. That's over the top. Appreciate you, bro. Molson Canadian, Saskatchewan, Canada. I did see James ask me if I was going to drink some Canadian beer. I would drink Canadian beer. I used to have Labatt. Like, when I was living up north, that's all I drank was Labatt's. Pretty damn good. So, yeah. You can tell. It was a rough flight, Paul. It was a rough flight.
A rough flight?
You know. Yeah, it's a rough flight, you know.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Appreciate that, Ken. You know what it is, though? It's like you talk, like, for the better half of the couple of years, my channel's always been camera drone oriented, camera drone related, but I think I'm burnt out with that. So I've migrated into the FPV realm, and I found solace and personal entertainment in that, to where some days I don't even put out a video, or I don't put out video for a week or so, because it's okay, because I'm having fun. Mentally, I'm having fun. Does it give you views? No, but that's fine. That's fine. It's like a digital log of things, which I think is perfectly fine. So Jeremy Williams says, I got the Tiny Hawk 2 a year ago, loved it. Now I have a 3-inch and 5-inch, just saving to get the goggles and air unit. That's a good plan. And there's still nothing wrong with analog. There's still so many people that fly analog, and there's nothing wrong with analog. Quite honestly, I am building a second, actually a third rig that's going to be analog, because I think that analog still has a significant place, even though some would claim it's totally antiquated. But there's instances where analog video just succeeds so much better than digital. There's places where the digital video blanks out as to where analog doesn't. However, with that said, the FPV drone doesn't have that issue, because it's running on an entirely different channel. It's running on 2.4 and I think it's 5.8. So the video is going to be quite a bit different. You're not going to have that digital blackout. It's going to be more like a video feed from a Mavic, which I think is interesting. So,
yeah, for sure.
So, there's nothing wrong with analog. So many people still fly it, and it's perfectly fine. It's just all personal preference. Obviously, everybody wants to have the cleanest video feed possible, and then some people get turned off by analog. Some people get turned off by analog, right? They feel like that scraggle is not acceptable, or they don't know how to deal with it, or sometimes people just have issues with their eyes, and to have a cleaner video feed, it's better for them right off the front. But I don't know.
The pros still do analog because it's lower latency, correct?
Lower latency, and then in certain areas it's more predictable, because like I've said in the past, like when video feeds blank out for digital, it just goes out. So sometimes when you go behind a building or something, you get like this digital, they call it like digital lag, like where something is happening, but your video feed isn't quite catching up. With analog, you don't have that. Your video feed is always consistent. So you're just getting more breakup, but it's still at the same latency, if that makes sense. So, I mean, that's fine. I fly the little tiny, I got 2 Tiny Hawks. I fly them like whenever it's raining, I fly the Tiny Hawks in the house because it's for me, that's better than a simulator because I think it's harder to fly a Tiny Hawk than it is to fly a 5-inch. I don't know why that is, but it's harder to fly a little tiny whoop than it is to fly a 5-inch. When I was able to figure out how to maintain my throttle on the tiny whoop, that's when my throttle management got a little bit better on the 5-inch. Hopefully that makes sense. But I love the Tiny Hawk. I wish they came out with a Tiny Hawk 3 and just, sort of beefed up things a little bit. Maybe got rid of that crazy crappy receiver they have on that. Or if you hit something, you lose a prop and it goes away. What's up?
B-Man said he's with you. He likes the raw and
apocalyptic.
Yeah,
no, but it's cheaper. It's cheaper, but it's also a lot more frustrating to try to tune out that noise. Sometimes you can have an accident, and then all of a sudden now you got lines, you got video noise, and then you have to chase down. Okay, well, what happened? Has there been a ground that's been disrupted? So now you have to tune it, and people don't want to do that. I understand why people don't fly or they don't make that crossover because it is daunting. And there really isn't like the best fit guide for this, right? So I understand how that, looks attractive, but I just think that a lot of people will have false expectation. Like I had false expectation for Skydio too. When I saw Skydio, I thought to myself, oh man, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to be able to do all these wonderful things. And then I got it and I was like, man, it doesn't do what I want it to do. Why? And it's because they had safeguards in place. So it couldn't, it couldn't destroy itself, or I couldn't do something stupid to an extent, although it still did stupid shit. It all depends on the pilot, of course, but I don't know.
Flying,
it all depends
like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, I don't have time to argue with shit. Like, and Lon likes to be argumentative with things, and he likes to intentionally be opposite with things just to try to be argumentative. And I don't have patience for that type of crap. Not anymore. I went through that all weekend with my family.
It sounds like a woman, really.
Yeah. I don't have patience for that. I just boot them, be done with it. That's perfectly fine.
How was the weather in New York?
The weather was cold as shit, man. It was cold. It was about
I saw that, man.
34 the one day, and then the other day, Mikey Smith said, let me know when you come out to Puerto Rico. My house is on a mountain. It's awesome flying out here. I'd love to go to Puerto Rico, and I don't even need a passport to go there. And I think it's getting better there with the COVID stuff. I don't know if they have travel restrictions to go to Puerto Rico or not. I don't think they do. When I went to New York, they had a travel restriction. As soon as I got off the plane, I had to fill out this questionnaire, and it's sort of fake, because you can answer that questionnaire any way you want, but you have to do a self-assessment. You do a self-assessment of whether or not you've been to any other countries. So you answer the questions, whether or not you've been outside the country, whether you've traveled, whether you've been anywhere else. And then if you answer the questions correctly, it'll either give you a green check mark, a yellow check mark, or a red check mark. It gave me a green check mark, so it said I didn't have to self-quarantine. So I was like, all right, I guess I don't have COVID. That's like as soon as you get off the plane, and it was only the flights coming from Florida. So as I looked around, I was like, you get off the plane and the military was right there. Like the National Guard was right there at the gate, making you fill this form out.
I thought they were all in DC.
No, they haven't been there for a while. No, it was National Guard. Well, each state has their own National Guard.
Right,
so New York has their own National Guard. But this is how stupid it was. They were only at the gates coming from Florida, Paul. And at first I was like, no, it's got to be more than just these gates. But as I walked around to all the other arriving flights, it was only like Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Tampa, West Palm Beach.
It's because we're a terrible state, man. We have like
Right?
the worst
Jacksonville.
the high numbers.
It was so stupid. I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're only hitting the states that there's one state. Maybe they're doing it to other states, but I didn't see it. Like there was a flight from Atlanta, there was a flight from Tennessee.
They knew
there
you
was
were
no
coming,
National
so
Guard.
they were armed and ready.
No, they weren't. They weren't armed. They were actually really nice.
Oh.
They were actually really nice. They're just like
I should have had you pick up my dang A7C from B&H. It probably would have got.
I could have picked it up. I was right there. I could have literally picked up your camera for you. But no, I didn't even go into the city. I didn't want to go into the city because I was like, everything's closed. They just reopened, right? There would have been no point to go into the city, and I had very limited time to deal with the funeral and then make it back in an efficient amount of time.
What was it in this? I guess so. I guess it was upstate.
Ray Kelly says that was payback by the POS Governor Cuomo. I agree with you. Definitely Cuomo and DeSantis don't see eye to eye. That's definitely for certain. That's definitely for certain that our governor and the governor of New York they don't like each other. I don't
think our governor gets along with very many people very well.
And I'm okay with that.
That's a story for another day.
I'm okay with him not getting along with people. I'm okay with that. Mike is just really cruising. Mike wants me to curse him out at this point. He's been waiting for it. I don't like Como. He's a dumbass. But that's why I live here. That's why I live here now, and I don't live in New York. Like I couldn't live in New York with those. I couldn't do that.
Those restrictions, man.
No, it's like crazy. Like in Florida, it's not. I mean, people take it serious, but they're also not like in your face. Like, right. They're not in your face. If your mask is below your nose or something, they're like jumping on you, gonna punch you in the face or something. Like in New York, I seen people were like they were taking that shit serious.
Only place that takes it serious in Florida is if you go to Disney.
Well, in Publix takes it pretty serious.
They'll tackle you.
Yeah, Disney will straight up tackle you. The airports will straight up tackle you.
I've never been tackled in Publix, but I guess I always wear my mask, so I don't know.
You know, the one benefit of this though is that going through TSA is a lot easier now. Like really? Going through TSA was a lot easier. Like I didn't
going through TSA.
I didn't use pre-check this time. I didn't use pre-check, and I brought the Mavic Air 2, and they didn't say shit. They didn't even make me take it out of the bag. A lot of times they make me take it out of the bag. The only thing I had to take out of the bag was my laptop, and that was it. My camera didn't have to come out. None of the chargers, nothing. Usually anything that's in my bag comes out, and
they didn't scan it all in the little bins. Yeah,
they didn't care. So I was actually all right. That was pretty damn cool that it didn't happen. So Paul, we seemingly coordinated our colors again this week. Good job. I'm hoping next week you have your camera, Paul.
If I don't, their FedEx is gonna get a claim.
That's the best comment. Sure. That's the best comment right here. Carolina Drone said they should. It's like you're wearing your pants with your dick out.
Wow,
that's the best. That's a whole new visual right there. That's hilarious. That's good. That is freaking hilarious. In rural upstate, it might not recognize as New York State. That's true too. Like Binghamton, some of the northern portions of New York, totally different ball game. Like those, like northern New York is a whole different ball game. But problem is, as you trend down like Long Island, New York, that area, anywhere bordering the eastern seaboard, whole different world. And unfortunately, that gets the dominant amount of attention in the state. So, James,
yeah,
take it easy, man.
Suck, B-man. I don't understand why all these companies use them.
Well, I told you.
Their tracking is terrible. I mean,
so
Mike even got us something before the storm, and it was like it took like double the amount of time to get to him, and the storms weren't even going on, so you can't.
But I'll tell you, DJI ships our stuff from Jersey. That's where one of their distribution sides are from. I told you we had an order of V2 goggles, right? I had ordered, there was like 20 or 30 goggles in this order, and I have tracking on 16 of them. We're still missing 16 goggles, and I can see them. They're sitting in Newark. They've left the distribution center. They're sitting in Newark to transport. They've been sitting there for 4 days. And I said, at what point do we call them and start busting their chops about these goggles? They haven't shown any departure. Sometimes they'll scan it, but then what happens is sometimes you don't see the scan because like your stuff may be in a container. So that happens too. So it may be, Paul, that your specific camera is actually en route to Florida and they put it in a larger container and it's not individually scanned. Sometimes they do that with shipping. Like if you have a large amount of stuff going to Florida or wherever, they put it in a big container and it doesn't get scanned.
So yeah, it was in Newark for like 5 days. Then on Saturday, it got scanned at Memphis, and then it's been in Memphis since Saturday.
Let's see, two questions come in here. Brad Henderson said, "What's a good beginner bind and fly recommendation? Anyone's in particular?" Honestly, you really can't go wrong if you look at race day quads. If you want to go with the 3-inch quad, there's multiple types of 3-inch quads available. A lot of those little tiny Trans-Tech quads are really great to get started. They're super durable and they're relatively cheap. And they're DJI if you want to go DJI. If you don't want to go DJI, there's a lot of tiny little digital quads that are bind and fly that you can easily go with. My recommendation is go to Get FPV, go to Race Day Quads and look at their binding fly packages and figure out like what you want to do. And if you send me a message in Discord, we can take a look at them and sort of figure out what's going to work best for you. The Dark Knight asks, "I've got a question. Since you flew the rumored new DJI drone, will the new controller be compatible with the current air units? Any good for FPV?" As of right now, we tried binding it to a air unit and it did not bind. So my guess is going to be no, it's probably not going to be compatible, possibly because of the radio that is built in there. They're claiming that the FPV drone has OcuSync 3, and obviously these air unit quads, the air units that are in the quads today do not have OcuSync. So it's probably not going to be a 1-to-1, and therefore it's probably not going to mesh up or work. So I'm gonna go with no, which sort of sucks because that little controller is really nice. Like I said, it feels like a Tango 2, which is really nice for traveling. But no, they're not gonna be compatible unless if they put out a new air unit, which that would be amazing. I'll forgive DJI if they put out new air units, which I hope they do. Maybe they will. Preston asks, "Do you use FPV footage as a staple in your real estate projects?" Preston, it depends on the house. If the house or the property is really large, let's say if it's like a piece of land of some sort, like or a large estate, and I feel like FPV is a good way to get across a big piece of land quickly, then I will use FPV to sort of bridge the gaps where the Mavic doesn't quite do it, right? So the Mavic is that establishing shot, and then I'll like zoom down into FPV to where I'm lower, more immersifying, sort of like to gauge, like sort of like, when you're watching a real estate video like that, people are like, "Holy crap, what was that?" So it's an interesting transition. So I use it. I use it periodically. It's just sometimes harder to match the footage. I am trying to work on my Cinelifter to try to make sure that I have 2 cameras that always match. So eventually I will use that much more. Let's see. What other we got?
I don't know how to spell my own last name, man. I've had this
first. Eddie and Mike are just going ham on you all the way across the door. Drones Unlimited, your thoughts on, here it goes. Your thoughts on Quad Standard Labs. Their Cinema FPVs look sick for larger cameras. All right, so here's the deal with Quad Standard Labs. Right now, there's nobody producing like better binding fly cinema rigs. There's nobody that's making better quality binding fly cinema ready cinema lifters than Quad Standard Labs. And I mean that. If like I have a Shendrone Squirt from Quad Standard Labs, and the attention to detail that Troy puts into every build is amazing. Not only that, is that they sit there and tune it, so it's like you don't have to worry about all the little nuances that go into it. But Quad Standard Labs probably is, if not the best, place to get a cinema lifter. So if you're looking to go with cinema lifter, Quad Standard Labs is definitely the way I would go with that. I wouldn't even worry about building one just because it's easier to buy one ready to go. Ken, I never unsubscribe to any channel. That to me is nonsense. I sure Lon is not going to do either. Ken, cuss me out all you want because I can't pay you for this info. All right. Well, Jeremy, I'm not going to curse you out. Lon and I usually go through like where we fight with each other, like at least once or twice a month.
We're like housewives.
Yeah, we're like housewives. Tonight he just pushed the buttons in the wrong place. You know, sometimes you just, if the doctor says, does this hurt? The doctor doesn't keep pushing. He just pushed the wrong buttons.
If he needs that kind of pressure, he has his wife for that.
Exactly. Paul literally misspelled his own last name. I did see that.
I don't know.
No new camera news. No new. You missed camera camp. That was in the beginning. And then you missed like a meltdown. Basically, we had like a mini meltdown. I still have one beer left, so we drank this one, and I think I've got to do this one. Finish this one.
Finish it. That was great.
We gotta get that out there. But it's like, what do you come to Drone Brews for? What do you come to Drone Brews for? You come to Drone Brews for meltdowns. You come here for everything you don't get anywhere else. Bob Casey says, I'm off here, guys. Grandkids getting rowdy. Bob, go bust some asses, man. We'll see you later, brother. Great answer to that question. Seems like a huge flag someone should have answered. Really appreciate your channel. Thank you so much, Dark Knight. Yeah, I think it's because a lot of people are under the NDA. They couldn't quite say. And if you think about it, that singular question could be a deciding factor whether or not somebody buys that. If somebody says, well, wait a second, if I have all these air units and I want to use this RC, that could be a deciding factor. Now, could DJI potentially make a change to that? Possibly. I mean, we don't know. We won't know until it's officially out. But the last I checked and tried, it would not bind. Exactly. Yeah, Jake. Quad Standard is amazing. Cine lifters are dicey, right? You're going to put a $3,200 camera or something on a Cine lifter. You know, like I've seen people flying like red Komodos on a Cine lifter. You want to make sure it's right. You know, I would rather just put that in the hands of professionals that I know is like they've tested. And that's not to say something still couldn't go wrong, but the potential for something to happen is a lot less if I know that Troy built it versus what I built. That's just me.
For sure.
So I'll definitely give him my money any day of the week for that. That's for sure. Let's see. I come here for camera drone reviews. That's probably what a lot of people come here for.
Ain't that
training wheels, just to jump in. Yeah, I mean, it is and it isn't, Sam. I mean, I think what will happen is well, here's what I hope doesn't happen. I hope that some won't pick up bad habits. Because you know the training wheels, people say, well, flying angle mode or flying horizon mode, and that'll help you get a feel. And while it sort of does, it also gives you bad habits. Like you learn bad habits. You don't learn how to center yourself. So it just depends. It really depends. And it also depends on how they implement everything else. We'll know, like I said, we'll know next week, Tuesday or Monday or something like that.
Tuesday.
Chris, yeah, we don't review anything. This is just beer. We just drink beer here. We just
no reviews.
We just drink beer, but that's 100%.
I mean, he could review.
Yeah, Jake says it's scary putting a 10K camera on a drone. It really is. It really is nothing more nerve-wracking knowing that it can go into a desync or something. Like that always freaks me out, knowing that at any given moment a drone could desync and you're gonna potentially spin. It's more dangerous with the DSLR cameras. Like if I took the Fuji or like the XT3 and mounted this on a camera on a rig, like this is very susceptible to breaking. But those boxy cameras, I don't really know if I would be too worried about a boxy camera breaking. I think that would be okay. I think it would be okay. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Paul, what's that flashing that keeps occurring every so often? Do you notice that?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. No, I just for some reason when you change the background, it flashes.
Is that what happens?
I corrected my spelling on my name.
Oh, you misspelled your name there.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not catch that, man. I did not catch that. That's crazy.
That means it's been that way for like weeks because it's been the same template. So kudos to Mike for I never noticed that.
You know, Mike doesn't miss a beat, man. Mike does not miss a beat. He does not miss a beat.
Well, besides the last 2 weeks that he's been on the stream, he never mentioned it.
So it's been misspelled the entire time? Is that what you're telling me, Paul?
Yep. No spell check in Canva.
True. John Kuby does bring up a valid point. The positive thing about the DJI FPV drone is that at least DJI has decided to continue to pump research and dev into the FPV sector of the hobby, which is really small, relatively speaking. This is true because if you look at it, there is very minimal manufacturers, and most of the manufacturers that do put stuff out usually have quality control issues. And one thing I will say about the Air units and the Caddx Vistas is that of all my VTXs, like usually I would burn a VTX up like once or twice every 2 months. I haven't, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues with VTXs in a long time. So since using digital, I've broken them by submerging them in water, but not because they failed on their own accord. It's usually I've had to give them a helping hand. So that is something that's interesting. I guess, you know, the other thing that we'll have to see is how they can incorporate possibly remote ID of some sort into these air units, if that is something that they're going to be looking at or researching. So maybe that is something that we will see for future, like builders, people who are building their own rigs. So it's not all gloom and doom. And again, at the end of the day, what's good for one isn't good for everybody. I just bought DJI at the flea market with thermal vision, OcuSync, and other cool things. Waypoint flew right away. What flea market? Mike, right into
flea market's
alligator.
Now selling DJI.
Waters.
Wow.
Yeah. Say that again, Paul.
I said the DJI or the flea market's now selling DJI. That's all right.
Yeah, that would be it. All right, guys. That's going to do it for tonight's show. I'm spent.
It's about that time again.
Day. It's about that time again, Paul. It's about
Stay
that
original,
time again.
yo.
I'll click the outro this time, Paul.
Yeah, you do it. Hit it.
I'll hit it.
Like now, right now.
I want you. I need you. You got me right where you want me, baby. Ooh, yeah. And who knew what you do? Cause I'm me cold in my tracks, yeah. Why don't you get up off of these high hypotheses? I'm not Socrates. I'm not trying to be cool. Yeah, yeah. I think it's time to change the scene. Ditch the limousine, chicks and cellophane. I just came to see you.
Yeah, you freaking loser. Ah.
I want you. I need you. You got me right.